Around the world, there's a school called West Point, distinguished by its special educational approach following the Listen-Contemplate-Practice process. This is a noteworthy educational model that I want to share with you. West Point's approach is very different from traditional education. They only spend about 2 hours each day on theoretical teaching. For most of the time, the remaining 8 to 10 hours, they focus on training students according to a military model. All those military tactics, practical skills and discipline training are applied during this phase. In this learning environment, students work in groups and are empowered to take initiative in their learning process. They must synthesize problems on their own, discuss among themselves to find solutions, present their results within the group, only then submit their findings to the teacher. Thanks to extensive practice, intensive training, and regular group work, the aspects of contemplation, thinking, and practice, implementation, are strongly developed. Only afterward do students submit their results back up to complete the listen knowledge component. This is the essence of the constructivist learning approach. This constructivist learning method starts with practice, having students implement first. Through practice, students truly understand the lesson. After understanding, students record their knowledge in notebooks and report to the teacher. The teacher then synthesizes this into systematic knowledge. This is the listen component. Can you visualize this? Although this process runs in the opposite direction from traditional education, it still includes all three elements: listen, contemplation, practice, corresponding to study, reflect, and apply. Listen, contemplation, practice isn't merely a teaching method, but a comprehensive human transformation process. This is the process of transforming one's karma, the process of changing one's destiny. When you fully understand this process, you'll have a completely different approach to designing educational programs, aiming for the holistic development of learners. Vietnam's entire current education system focuses too heavily on listen, theoretical knowledge. Meanwhile, the other two elements, contemplation, thinking, and practice, implementation, are almost forgotten. This is precisely the weakness that needs addressing to improve educational quality. Those who run schools, from elementary, middle school, high school to university, need to adjust their approach. While still adhering to the Ministry of Education's curriculum framework, we need to reasonably reduce the listen theory component. Strengthen the contemplation and practice elements, thinking and implementation. With this balance, our students will develop more comprehensively and excellently. Designing a lesson using the constructivist method is much more complex than the traditional approach, possibly 2, 3, or even 5 times more complex. Take the example of a lesson about leaves, traditional teaching method. Describe the leaf on the board. Students copy it down. Constructivist teaching method. Take students to the garden. Each student selects and takes a leaf. Take photos, search for information on Google. Discover the scientific name and characteristics of the plant. Learn about the plant's development process. Write an essay and present it to the class. The second approach is clearly much more complex but brings deeper understanding. Although the constructivist method requires more effort to design and implement, the learning outcomes achieved are much more comprehensive than the traditional method that focuses only on listen. This is precisely the change needed to improve educational quality, shifting from cramming knowledge to comprehensively developing students' thinking abilities and practical applications. The constructivist method, where students synthesize their own lessons, can be visualized as a blue line, starting slowly but finishing first and going further. In contrast, our traditional learning method resembles a red line, quick to start but not sustainable. When comparing effectiveness across educational levels, elementary level, students following the Constructivist method often lag behind those learning traditionally. Middle school level, Constructivist learners begin to catch up, sometimes excelling, though some still lag. High school and university levels, 100% of students following the Constructivist method perform better. The outstanding strength of the Constructivist method is developing independent thinking. When students synthesize knowledge themselves, it's their own thinking, not the teacher's. Meanwhile, the traditional method typically only transmits the teacher's way of thinking. With the teacher's thinking, can students later become scholars or scientists? That's why we shouldn't be surprised at Vietnam's lack of scholars. Although in recent decades the number of PhDs in Vietnam has been as numerous as the UN Army, genuine scholars are rare. Only recently do we have Professor No Bao Chao, and perhaps his creative achievements are partly due to his education in France, a place with a different educational approach. The Constructivist method leans toward the aspects of doing and understanding, practice, apply, 70%, contemplation, understanding, 20%, listen, studying, 10%. The philosophy of doing to understand is the core of this method. So if students have already done things to understand, then when they enter real life, is finding work easy or difficult? Easy. Is getting a job easy? Very easy. Because when they apply for jobs, they immediately start working, they work and understand, and they construct their own lives. Students trained in this method don't just know theory, but also know how to apply knowledge to practical situations, solve problems independently, and create essential skills for success in life and future careers. The consequences of an educational method lacking independence and practical experience lead to dependency. When young people enter adult life, they tend to hold out their hands to mom, like in situations where, "Mom, I've started working. Do you know my boss? I didn't get a raise. Can you call and talk to my boss for me?" Sadly, the phenomenon of parents trying to secure government jobs for their children remains common in Vietnamese society today. This is precisely the consequence of failing to cultivate self-reliance and problem-solving abilities in children from an early age. Sometimes skipping class can actually be an effective form of constructivist learning. Instead of only studying math, physics, chemistry, subjects belonging to listen, theoretical knowledge, couldn't children participate in practical activities like mountain climbing in the morning? What's wrong with letting them visit a remote village? Why not let them bring old clothes to donate to poor children? Isn't experiencing and feeling a different way of life more valuable than many classroom lessons? Don't these activities help children directly observe phenomena? How can they truly participate in practical activities if they never experience them? Is there a better way to understand the challenges of climbing if you don't climb a mountain yourself? And isn't the feeling of helping children in remote areas only achievable through actual action? Isn't this precisely what constructivism is, learning through real-life experiences? So be careful if you let your children skip school to participate and experience the activities I just mentioned, as it might actually be more beneficial for them than getting high grades. But when your child misses a lot of school, what phenomenon occurs? The teacher dislikes your child because what does the teacher lose? The class's achievement metrics. Then the teacher gets demoted in rankings, going from an excellent teacher to a good teacher, from a good teacher to an average teacher. The teacher is stuck in the achievement disease. So what should you prepare your child for? Prepare them for the teacher's disapproval, for the teacher being hard on your child. Your child must overcome this. As a result, your child increases their resilience. being under pressure yet remaining happy, developing stronger willpower. The Constructivist method requires a clear three-stage process, making it more complex than conventional teaching methods. Preparing the scenario, organizing activities, synthesizing knowledge. After completing these three stages, teachers need to continuously improve the process based on feedback and results achieved. This is the structure of an effective Constructivist lesson, helping you visualize more clearly how to implement this method in practice.